After the program, Dad made a feeble attempt at an apology, but I knew I was never going to forget the words that he said to me that day. And then Christmas came, and my dad was already gone. He just left.
He left.
And suddenly, we were alone.
Our church family encircled us with loving arms and tried to help. But both Joey and I, we were devastated. I just cried and cried, and Joey, he just retreated into a world of his own.
My heart broke for Joey and his mom after Robert left. Our church reached out to them in every way we could, but it was like a darkness had descended on Joey and it couldn't be lifted.
Two people just doesn't feel like a family. Mom had to pick up another job just so she could pay the bills, and most of the time, I was alone. Didn't seem like anybody cared. Yeah, sure, the church people, they said they cared, but I didn't want their pity. I didn't want a refrigerator full of casserole dishes. I just wanted my dad.
Christmas was just never the same after that. At first, the Christmas season brought back a flood of painful memories. But as the years passed, the gleam of my Christmas candle reminded me that Jesus, the light of the world, still loved us and would take care of us.
Why did Dad leave? I didn't know. Maybe my mom knew, but she wouldn't tell me. And it really didn't matter why Dad left. What mattered to me was that he left. And the words that he had said to me the day of the Christmas program just kept playing over and over and over again in my head. And that hurt so much.
I prayed every day for Joey. He was bewildered and confused at first, but it was swiftly changing to rage right in front of me.
Joey started coming home with black eyes and bloody knuckles. Well, I marched him straight into counseling with Pastor Morgan, but it didn't help. It just seemed to make him angrier.
I started meeting with Joey every week, but soon he just thwarted every attempt I made to try to help him with silence and a I don't care attitude.
By the next Christmas, Joey was almost unrecognizable as that sweet little boy I remembered. He was so angry, and no matter how many people were around him, he was always alone.
When it came time for the church Christmas program that year, I couldn't bring myself to walk in the door. I knew my mom's feelings would be hurt, but I didn't go to the Christmas program that night, or for many years after that. In fact, I just went ahead and boycotted the whole Christmas season. I didn't like seeing Christmas trees. I hated hearing Christmas carols, because when I did, all it would do is remind me of my dad. And the worst part of it all was in my front window was that big red Christmas candle my mom would put there every December. And that candle felt like it was just shining a spotlight on the big gaping hole in my heart and life.
The years passed, Christmas after Christmas. My heart broke, though, every December when the rest of the world seemed to be merry, and Joey retreated a little further inside himself. But by God's grace, we managed to get him through high school. And while his GPA wouldn't get him into any decent college, at least he had a diploma.
Mom was so relieved when I graduated high school, and she was so proud of that worthless diploma, thinking that somehow that piece of paper was going to save my life, even though I knew that my grand destiny was probably going to be flipping hamburgers the rest of my life.
I was genuinely surprised every time Joey showed up in my office. The counseling sessions were the only thing he never challenged his mother on. Once he turned 18, though, it was like he disappeared from the church altogether. He'd been swallowed by the shadows that were haunting his soul.
I didn't seek out friends, and honestly that was probably a good thing, because the type of people I would have been attracted to would not have been good. But being alone in your own head is sometimes just as bad. My past was a black hole, my present wasn't any better, and my future, It was as good as gone. It was hopeless. I was without hope, plunging headlong into darkness, and I knew it.
I worked 60 hours a week just to keep the lights on at home. But in December, I always took a little time off to put together the Christmas program, which was always the highlight of my year. I cataloged my life by the songs we sang. Each one felt it like a chapter in a diary, something new that God was teaching me, or another way He was comforting me and giving me hope.
I was stunned when I got the call. It was the day of the Christmas program, and here's Joey Miller on the phone. I hadn't seen him in years. He was in jail for beating a man half to death in a barroom brawl. He'd been in lockup for 2 days. The man he assaulted was going to be okay, but this wasn't Joey's first time in jail, and the bail was high, almost to the penny what I had in my bank account.
There were only 2 people that I even thought of that might be willing to help. That was my mom and Pastor Morgan. My mom, I couldn't bring myself to call her, so I called Pastor.
I knew that the bail amount matching the same amount I had in my savings account was no coincidence. It was like the Holy Spirit was whispering in my ear, "Hey, you've been praying for years to make a difference in this boy's life. Now's your chance."
Pastor came and got me. He didn't lecture me. He didn't preach at me. He told me the only condition for him posting my bail was that I would attend the church Christmas program. Thousands of Christmas lights set the church ablaze, and right there in the center, right at the front of the platform, was Mom's red Christmas candle. Just as I remembered it. The last time that I'd been here at church on a night like this was the night that was the end of everything.
Joey stopped at the entrance of the auditorium and just stood there as if he were frozen. My own feelings were in turmoil. I didn't know what to do. Should I speak or be quiet? For a second, I didn't know what he was going to do. I thought he might turn around and run. But he stepped into the auditorium and took a seat in the back.
I thought I was hallucinating when I saw Joey in the back row, sitting at the edge of the shadows with the Christmas lights illuminating his face. His usual harsh expression was softer, uncertain. I prayed that God would touch his heart. I prayed that God would yank my boy back to him.
I didn't know what else to do, so I just prayed.
I just prayed.